Today we are going to be making our very own ricotta cheese for a recipe that I am making. So I will show you how to do it. It's very simple and it's very quick. That way, if maybe you can't find one with clean ingredients at the store, or it's just cheaper and easier for you to do it this way, or you want to experiment with doing your own homemade stuff, then here's a little tutorial for you. So we're going to heat up our milk. You can use any type of milk, but in my opinion, higher fat is better. And you can do as much as you want because we're going to be separating out the curds from the whey. So do as much as you want. This is like, I'm doing like 300 milliliters of milk. And we're just going to make sure we don't burn our milk. That's very important. And we're pretty much going to heat this up until it's boiling. Okay, now that our milk is heated through, we are going to add some lemon juice. I am not someone who measures. This may be about 1 to 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. And also, you can use vinegar as well. The important thing is having that acidity, because that's going to help separate the milk. I just like using lemon juice. Let's see. And, oh yeah, that's working very fast. You see how quickly this works? Like, very fast. It's going to start separating, so we're just going to give it a minute. It's going to keep going. It's going to get much more prominent as we go. So you see that? Now we see there's some clear liquid and then some of the curds. You see we've got all this separation going on. And it's just going to continue. You see that? Yep, see? We're getting that beautiful separation going. Oh yes. And we are good. So we will get this heat off. We are good. Now we've got our beautiful curds, so we're just going to strain them out. Okay, so I have one of these little strainer kind of things. You can also just use a very thin strainer that you have, and we're just going to pick the curds up out of here. It would also be good to let it sit in a cheesecloth to drip out the excess moisture. Let me see. And also, don't throw away the whey, which is the separated liquid that we have there. Don't throw it away. It's highly nutritious. You could always add it to drinks or smoothies or soups. I really like putting it in soups, and it just adds a bit extra minerals and vitamins and even a little bit of protein in there as well. So do not throw it away. It is very useful. Okay, I decided to take my own advice and use a cheesecloth to strain it. It is not necessary to use a cheesecloth, but that's just going to help you make sure the moisture is drained out of these curds very well. Going to drop it in there. Beautiful. Just get out everything that we can. Okay, I'll say that's pretty good. This is also a great thing to do with milk if maybe it's about to go bad or it has just gone off and you need something to do with it. This is a great use for your milk, and of course you can get lots of use out of having ricotta cheese around. So there you go. Nice little tip for you. Now let's get into the rest of the recipe. For this recipe, we are going to need a zucchini. We are going to need some plain Greek yogurt. We are going to need some vanilla, some cinnamon, a little touch of nutmeg, and the sweetener of your choice. First thing I'm going to do is get this zucchini nice and grated up. Okay. This guy. Now, if you have a Zoodle maker, that would be perfect for this recipe. I do not, so I am just using a regular grater for this. But if you want to make it prettier, more elegant, whatever, a Zoodle maker would be awesome. Or I suppose you could skip that step and get your own pre-made zoodles as well. It would save a lot of work. Now that we've got this guy beautifully grated up, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a pinch of salt. You don't need a whole lot. And massage it in. And this is going to help release the moisture from the zucchini because we want to try and get out as much of the moisture as possible. Otherwise, when we cook it, there's going to be a lot of moisture that gathers in the pan. Okay, so just making sure we get salt all around. And we're gonna put that to the side and let the salt work its magic by drawing out the moisture. Okay, so I've let this sit for about 5 minutes or so, and we're just going to take some of this and just squeeze it out. You see that liquid? It's a lot of liquid coming off there. This recipe will not turn out the same if you skip this step, so it is very necessary to do this part. You could also use a cheesecloth for this part, but my cheesecloth is already in use. Just gotta do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, good. These don't have much moisture left in them. Okay. Perfect. You see that? All of that liquid would be coming out in the oven if we did not squeeze it out. So there we go. And I forgot to mention we also need eggs for this recipe. So it's pretty good. Got out the bulk of the moisture. Okay, so dump these in. Something like orange zest would go amazing with this recipe. I do not have that, so I can't add it in. But if you do have it, I highly recommend because that will add just a bit of extra zing and awaken the flavors of this. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our ricotta, just give that a nice little squeeze and get out the rest of that juice. Oh yeah. Now, yeah, you definitely don't have to make your own ricotta for this recipe, but I don't have access to pre-made ricotta where I am, so I'll just make it myself. Plus, it's really easy, so I don't mind going through the trouble. Okay, there we've got our nice little bowl of cheese. Okay, so we've got ricotta. We're gonna use a few drops of vanilla. This might be like, we'll say about a tablespoon or a teaspoon. About a teaspoon. Take our yogurt. Now remember, this is unsweetened Greek yogurt. Make sure it is plain, unsweetened for this recipe. Now, if you have access to sour cream, you can use sour cream for this recipe instead. I do not have access to it here. So, yogurt's the next best thing, but it's going to go great with this recipe still. This recipe, I was originally trying to think of what to call it. And my husband came up with the lovely idea of calling it Zoodle Kugel, because that's what I was going for, was a noodle kugel keto parody. And so I was like, how did I not think of that? That is so perfect. We're just gonna get that mixed in a bit. Now, this would be a fantastic recipe to use for Thanksgiving if you need some keto side dish ideas and you're planning not to totally get off your keto plan for the holidays. I know it's easy to fall off, but if you want something that's going to keep you on track, this would be a fantastic recipe to use as a Thanksgiving side. So that's just a little recommendation I have there for you. We're going to crack in, let's see, 2 eggs. Okay, we're going to get that mixed in. This is going to make the custardy pudding type filling that we want for this. We've got a nice little batter here. And now we're going to add some nutmeg. We're just going to do it to taste. You don't need a whole lot. Just enough. Add a nice little element to it. Here I had to grind my own cinnamon because that's all I had. So this is, looks like a little more than a teaspoon. It really is just add your seasonings according to what you like. That's what I always do. I just go by sight. I just go by what I like and what's going to taste good. I don't worry about measurements. That's just not how my brain works. If you need measurements, this could be about 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. But I suggest in the kitchen, you know, learn how to eyeball it. That's what all the pros do. That way you can know how something's going to taste. You can even experiment to learn how something's going to taste based on what you're putting in it. Smells incredible. Okay. Now I'm going to put about 2 drops of stevia liquid and a tiny bit of allulose. We need this for something else. We want it just lightly sweet. We don't want it to be excessively sweet, just a light sweetness. If you've had noodle kugel before, you know it's going to be a little bit of a light sweetness, but you don't want it to be like cakey. Oh my god. Okay. Smells amazing. And now our mixture is done, and we are going to put it into our pan and throw it into the oven. Oh, and I'm going to put a little butter on it as well. I forgot. a little bit of butter. Kind of sprinkle it over top. You could also just mix it in. It doesn't matter. Just, you want to get some of that butter in there. Okay. Now we're going to put her in the oven. I suggest somewhere around 350 for about 15 minutes and then check it. I'll let you know on the official time that it takes after we're done. Here is our final product. I did finish it off with a little bit of a broil just to help get a nice color on top. This ended up taking more like 35 minutes on 350. So just so you know, if you try this, it also will depend on how big your pan is or how big your entire batch is. But yes, somewhere between 35 to 45 minutes, also depending on your oven. And we've got this nice cooked egg in there. And I'm gonna let this cool for a minute and then we'll see how it tastes. Okay, I can't wait any longer. It's only been a few minutes, but I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try. Okay. So, if you're thinking Zoodle Kugel, it's not that. Although the flavor is very similar, the texture obviously is going to be different. But it is a nice flavor, and I will say, I usually feel like zucchini doesn't taste very squashy to me. But in this one, it does have more of that essence, which I think goes perfectly well with these seasonings. It kind of has a similar smell to pumpkin right now. And it's not tasting like pumpkin, but I'm getting a bit of that squashy taste in here, which is going well with this flavor profile. So I would say this would definitely be a good side dish to incorporate in your holidays. And I'm sure with a bit of sour cream, this would go very nice as well. I'm curious, I feel like cream cheese would also go very nicely and maybe give this a bit more of a desserty taste. Because I will say, it's not a whole lot of like a desserty taste to it. My original idea was a take on zucchini bread because I was thinking about how good zucchini bread is. And it doesn't have that essence at all. And I think maybe with a little more sweetness it would. But I think something like cream cheese would go a long way with this as well. So I may experiment with a few different variations, but this was definitely a win. This was good. I think even people who aren't keto would like something like this as a side dish. So I'm going to call this a success. Thank you for watching.